woman can produce a machine or a device in her factory, while a practicing productive Muslim woman in her home would produce a whole generation from her home. Working is not at all prohibited for women, at all. It is totally permissible if the conditions are fulfilled. But what is better for a woman? To work outside her home, leave the kids unattended, or taken care by a maid whom we don't know what she does to them or what she teaches them, or to be among her children, teaching them various sciences and moral acts that would shape and form the way they grow up. So we always often hear, how can a woman be productive when she's deprived of everything? You extremists, you fundamentalists, you sheikhs say everything is haram, haram, haram. How can she be productive when she is deprived of everything? First of all, this is an exaggeration. We never say that everything is haram. And whatever we say, we don't say it from our own whims and desires. And this is what I always ask my students, or who come asking me for solutions. Do you want to follow Sharia, or do you want to follow your whims and desires? 100% of those who I ask them this question say, we would like to follow Sharia, no doubt. Unanimous answer. But when you ask them in that particular problem or situation, which you're asking me about, are you following Sharia, or are you following your whims and desires? This is when they start to stutter and they stumble and say, oh, I don't know. Why? Because they know that they're not backed up by Sharia. They can't provide the evidence from the Quran and Sunnah that what they were doing is right. So the only alternative is that they're following their whims and desires. And I'll give you an example. We want women to be productive. Good. We want women to enjoy life. Excellent. Can we do this through Sharia or through our whims and desires? We can do this through Sharia, but Sharia doesn't suit you here. Why? Because in order for you to be productive in your point of view and to be happy and being paid, you have to free mix, you have to take off your hijab, you have to, if not break some rules, bend them. You have to travel without a mahram. You have to be in seclusion with non-mahram. It's a meeting, Sheikh, it's a business meeting. What can I do? We have a retreat every year for 3 days, and we have to go to Goa. And yeah, we have to go to the beach with the management. It's my job, Sheikh. What can I do? Subhanallah. So are you following Sharia or your whims and desires? Here is where the punchline is. I said, they can't say Sharia. And this is the biggest problem Muslims have. I have many big problems for Muslims, but one of the biggest problems. What is that? No, it is the biggest problem. Sue me, who cares? The biggest problem of Muslims is that they are unable to sync between Islam and their lives. And this is where they come to the fork of the road. Either I have to go right or left. Islam says go right. Others say, well, my whims and desires say go left. Whom to follow? This is what defines you as a Muslim or not. You see, Islam is a frame. So Islam is just a frame, like this one. And your life is a picture, which is bigger than the frame. A real Muslim puts the frame on the picture, which is his life, and start to cut the edges that does not fit. So at the end of the day, he has gotten rid of so many things of his life, habits, hobbies, desires, relationships, interests that do not allow Islam to fit on, because Islam is specified, limited. Now we have the frame fitting 100% your life. You're a practicing real true Muslim. Mabruk. The vast majority of Muslims, when they put the frame, said, oops, I can't get rid of these hobbies, these habits, these desires, these sins, what to do? The frame, I have to start breaking it, taking edges off it, put duct tape, put branches here, put some wood and nail it. So at the end of the day, I have a frame that fits my whole life. But this frame, this crooked frame, is not Islam. It's something new. This is why women find it difficult to adhere to Sharia, because it doesn't go with what they want. Sheikh, I'd like to be a nuclear scientist. Okay, my daughter, that's good. But I have to live in America for 7 years and work among men and study in different universities. And I don't have a father or a brother or a mahram to take me there. And I have to live alone, and I may have to work at night to provide for myself. Well, what do you want me to say? Sheikh, this is for the betterment of the Muslim society, blah, blah. This is haram. She doesn't listen. She goes, why? Because she doesn't want to follow Sharia. She wants to follow her whims and desires. So if we can cross this problem and solve it to abide by Sharia, then we have no problem. But who wants to follow Sharia nowadays? You're an athlete, and your country says to you, we would like you to represent our country in the Olympics. Yeah, but I'm a woman. There's no problem. You can wear the hijab. But everybody's going to look at me. No problem, just to compete. Maybe they will tell you you have to compete against an Israeli woman. There are enemies. No problem. It's for the spirit of sports. What is left of Islam? They have taken everything away from us. So no hijab, no fear of Allah. And I'm competing against an enemy of Islam who took forcefully Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa from us Muslims, kicked our Muslim brothers and sisters from their homes, occupied them, terrorized them, oppressed them. And I shake hands with them and I compete with them and I have a selfie with them. What is left of Islam? This is why the biggest problem is how to get aligned, synchronized between Islam and what Islam wants from us, between Islam and what our lives are all about. Once we manage to do this, then we are in good hands.